Hey YouTubers, Rob here with another C64 game. This time we're looking at Stellar 7, a conversion of an original Apple II game that was put out by Dynamix in '83. It's an interesting take on Battlezone. The basic concept sort of builds up from Battlezone and has you a little more mission. I never actually played the original version of this. Dynamix, once they were bought by Sierra, put out an enhanced remake for the PC and some other machines around 1990. That's when I first played it. So when I discovered that this actually was brought on the C64, it's like, oh, I have to check this out. The game was the original version. This version was originally done on the Apple II and brought over. The C64 version is a little more colourful, and it's also using the high resolution mode for the graphics. The Apple looked like, at least having a quick play, looked like it was much lower res. So first thing is you've got your basic options and your mission briefing, which I'll page just shows you all the enemies you're engaging. And gives you sort of an overview. The basic idea is you need to move through 7 different systems, 7 levels, each containing a system. You need to survive, take out enemies, find the warp link, which appears once you've destroyed enough. We'll jump to it. Once you get to the warp link, you move on to the next stage. So you find this warp link, and then it takes you to the next stage. You've got a basic tank. Your tank is the Raven, and it's basically standard Battlezone style controls: left, turn right, move forward, move back. You've also got a cloaking device, which some of the enemies are also armed with. And your idea is, as it says, reach Arcturus, destroy Geardraxon, and go through. So let's dive in. I admit I'm a little frustrated the demo kept in the space bar to get the mission. Alright, I had a bit of a play earlier on the scout mission, so I may actually do that. So first 5, so in this case we're not actually going all 7 levels. We have to obviously do the Arcturian Blitz to accomplish that. So let's dive in. So here we are, where systems are coming online and we're on Sol. Brief breakdown of the instrumentation. So top left you've got your score. In the middle the Raven insignia also is used to indicate when you're cloaked, which is a quick press of the space. Then to the right of that you've got the system readout, currently saying we're in Sol. In the very top right corner, that little box is the radar. Unfortunately all you can sort of see is that there are contacts. Doesn't really help identifying what they are. Then you've got your main view screen taking up most of the screen. And then you've got your 2 energy readouts. The blue bar on the left is your shields. When that runs out, it's game over. And on the right, the purple bar indicates your cloaking device. So if we activate the cloaking device, we can see that's now starting to drain, and we can also see that the Raven badge, for want of a better term, is now hollowed out, indicating that we can't be seen. So the controls are essentially, like I said, your standard Battlezone controls. Move forward, turn left, right, reverse, fire, and then spacebar to activate the cloak. The cloak itself runs for a limited period of time, and we'll eventually see that making up some noise as it's going to switch off. As it is now, and we're now back to normal. So again, like Battlezone, I have to admit, I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to the original Battlezone here. You're pretty much just fighting to survive. When you've destroyed enough targets, you'll see the warp link appear. Unfortunately, you'll have to keep your eye around it and see it. You won't get an indication on your radar or anything. You'll just get another contact blip, and then you move through and you move on to the next stage. In itself, for 1983, some very simple wireframe graphics. They look kind of nice, and I really like the way that, because the terrain itself is flat, they've actually used the bitmap mode in such a way to give, there's the sky and the terrain. I mean, obviously to do a filled background with the mountains would really slow the game down, but the rest actually feels nice presentation-wise. There's a nice bit of colour. And the frame rate's decent. I mean, you're always going to run into problems with a 3D game on the C64. The way that the memory is managed with the bitmap graphics mode actually means it's not entirely efficient too. It means it's a little less efficient than on other computers to draw it. And there we are. We've destroyed enough enemy, and there's the warp link. So we'll pretty much drive straight for that, and we'll complete the first stage. And here we are. Now we go for our transition sequence to the next sector, next system. I do have to find a little kitchen. Is the door closed? And we've arrived. It does feel a little cheap that it stops and it doesn't actually slow down. You'd expect it to sort of slow down as you arrived in the new system, but that's not obviously the case. So now we've hit Antares. Again, we'll have some new enemies in this case. What I'm attacking there is one of the cannons that you saw in the briefing. I like the fact that you do actually have the mission briefing to sort of run you through a lot of the game. It's one of those mines. I mean, all in all, for a fairly early game, it's very well presented, very well controlled. Like, most cases when it comes to 3D style games, you're always going to have that responsiveness issue. And honestly, here, the controls feel pretty responsive to me. Like, I don't feel I'm fighting it. I don't feel the game's. Ugh. The only downside is, yeah, you can only fire two. You can only have 2 projectiles in the air at a time. So you have to be careful on how you manage launching those, so you don't get blasted. But you can sort of see there are cases here where, thanks to the reduced viewport, you actually do get a bit of speed boost. So, I mean, all in all, I'm actually quite enjoying this. I was terrible at the PC version, and the other thing I think is that they do keep the number of enemies down. I mean, we just saw this sled enemy just materialize, obviously, as we've cleared another enemy out. Take this guy out. So in this case, our energy's starting to get our shield energy's starting to get a little critical, so I need to be careful. Hopefully I can duck around the... Ugh. Good news is that's the warp link. Right. Couldn't have opened any sooner. Because we've not only just gotten a bonus in our energy and shield, but we've also got the next system we're coming up has Rigel has the first fuel bay that we can access, so we can dock in there and get our fuel replenished completely. The other downside is you can only use that once on that system, so you've got to time it. If I go in there as soon as I can, that might not be the best move. I kind of like that from a strategy perspective. So, I mean, in terms of design, you have got this gameplay pressure. You know, you've got only one life, you've got limited shield. The shield becomes a tactical weapon to be able for survival. And your cloak becomes this tactical tool. You know, do you use the cloak frequently, drain the energy, or do you save it? Now that's the fuel bay. If we have a look. First, we should just clear these turrets at the front of it. Alright. There we go, we've entered the fuel bay. Refueled the Raven. Now let's get back to hunting down enemies. So, you know, you've got this pressure from only having a single life, only having, you know, you've only got like 2 shots in the air, so you need to manage how you fire. You need to, you need to line up with targets accurately. You can't just go spamming fire. And you also need to be prepared at and also the fact that there are all the different enemies and they have different patterns. So for example, the tanks you need to try and get from the side. The flyers, you need to be prepared. The flyers, you need to wait for them to. You need to wait for the flyers to come low to approach the ground as you can't reach them when they're in the air. Things like that puts a good deal of challenge in how you fight. But it is definitely a hard game. So the warp link. That's the warp link. Easy running now. I mean, one of the things I like is it does use the high res mode properly. And that means that you get the graphics look really crisp. A lot of games that tend to run in bitmap mode, like 3D games, always tend to use the chunkier low resolution mode. And while some cases that was for filled polygons, other cases it really didn't provide much benefit. So in this case, it actually worked out pretty well. And now we're into Deneb. And from the briefing, this was the first system where they reported something suspicious, so we have to be on our not only that, I believe this may be the upgraded cannons. Oh, yep, upgraded cannons. Now those cannons, instead of firing lasers, also fire shells. And you can see the Raven is not doing too good at the moment. No! And that's the end of our Raven. So there we are. That's Stellar 7. An excellent early Battlezone inside tank shooter that is really solid challenge, really good fun to play, and a lot of rather interesting early game. It's surprisingly solid 3D on the C64. I really like the presentation. Having this mission briefing, having this sort of tension that describes the mission as being sort of a one-way trip almost, and like very desperate, but also the fact that you have these sort of odds. It's put together really well, and certainly some great fun, and one that's certainly worth checking out. I mean, if you do have access to like a PC or something, well, obviously you're gonna have access to a PC. But if you can find the PC version of the game, in that case, it's probably better to play that than this, just for the sake of something a little more modern. But it's still quite an interesting game to check out. I said there's a good challenge and pressure. You've got, rather than just straight survival, you've got to manage your resource well. You've got to be tactical against the enemies. It's put together really well, and it's a game that's well worth checking out. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to bringing you another game next time.